limits.
This thing was cutting in and out, so. What's up, guys? I'm a recovering addict named Josh. I'm extremely grateful for the only promise of Narcotics Anonymous, which is the freedom from active addiction. I get pretty loud, too, so I don't know if this microphone's going to be necessary. Let me try to stand by the recorder. But, hey, thanks a lot, man. Thanks. I really appreciate your service. I appreciate you sharing. It's not crazy. And we say, is it odd or is it God? But in my life, I have evidence enough to know that it's never odd. It's always God. That you shared with me. You know, we're from the same town. And currently I reside in Florida. And they asked me to come share here. This is where I grew up. This is my stomping grounds. I'm a Strong Island native. And I'm grateful, right? I'm grateful for the committee to ask me, to give me this honor and this privilege. This is a big thing to me. This is true to my heart. There was a Scottish philosopher that said to always give without remembering and receive but never forget. To always give without remembering and to receive but never forget. And I will never forget what I have been receiving from Narcotics Anonymous for the last 4 years and 6 months. I will never, ever forget what I have been receiving from the men, the staples of Narcotics Anonymous, men like Ray Menard, Jimmy, Aaron, men that have been pouring into me for the last 4.5 years. I will never, ever forget what I have been receiving from Narcotics Anonymous as a whole. Narcotics Anonymous has given me the ability to do a lot of things here. Narcotics Anonymous has given me the ability to be a good father. Narcotics Anonymous has given me the ability to be a good friend. Narcotics Anonymous has given me the ability to be a good son. Narcotics Anonymous has given me the ability to be the man I never thought I could be. And the man that God has always intended me to be. And that I am extremely grateful. And I'm going to try to stay calm, cool, and collected. You see, I'm already talking too fast, right? Sometimes my mouth can't keep up with my mind because my mind is getting led by my heart is getting driven by my spirit, and my spirit is getting enforced by God. So I can't control that. I can't put a limit on that, but I will try to slowly carry the message. But if anybody knows me, you just said, well, I'm extremist. This is my favorite thing to do. I'm not ashamed to say that I love to come up here and speak, right? I am grateful that God has given me the ability to be a good communicator. I am grateful that God has given me the ability to articulate well, right? I used to have fast conversations with slow-thinking people in order to get the next one, right? So today, I have utilized that and sharpened that defect and turned it into an asset to effectively and efficiently carry the life-saving message of Narcotics Anonymous. And if you don't know it, hold on, strap in, it's coming in. Hot. It's not an addict, any addict can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, find a new way to live, man. Find a new way to live. If that's not a vision, Raymond, what did I do? I offended you? No, I'm joking. If that's not a vision, I don't know what is. So I'm up here, right? A little bit of a backstory, right? When I was using, I didn't have any real visions. I had tunnel vision. Anybody know what that is? Tunnel vision, right? The literature says that I had to have drugs at all costs, right? I put the use ahead of the welfare of my families, my wife, my husband, yada, 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 like all that stuff. It didn't matter. I had one goal, was to use more. Right? I couldn't live and enjoy life as other people did. And that's what I did, man. I did that for years. Years upon years upon years, man. I'm so grateful that God seen fit to put a certain substance in my body that put me to my knees. That forced me to surrender. I was in a point of submission. Right? I didn't want to get clean, man. That's not my story. I'm not going to sit here and tell, I wanted to get clean. I tried so much. No, I did not want to get clean. I was forced to get clean. I was, once again, I'm from Massachusetts. I moved to Florida. And what happened is I overdosed over a certain substance twice. The same bag, as a matter of fact. I overdosed. They sent me to a detox. the whole time I was in detox, I was obsessing about the leftover bag at my house. Right? And you know that feeling, right? The obsession, right? Obsession is loading the gun. You know what compulsion is? Pulling the trigger. Right? So that's what I did, right? They let me out of that detox and then went right back to the second step, says it. What? The source of the heart attack. Right? It would be insane. Insanity. My disease had me in point of insanity. And that's what I did. I went right back to that same bed. My disease told me, you can do a little bit less this time. You'll be okay. You can outsmart this thing. That's what yeah, we outsmarted her, right? Right? I woke up again in an ambulance, not knowing my name, not knowing my address, not knowing the president. And that was the end of my road. I got up, I jumped out of the ambulance, I ran down the road in Mickey Mouse pajama pants, right? Surrounded by Marion County sheriffs. And that was the end of my road. I couldn't envision that day that the end of my road would be the beginning of his highway. I could never envision that. So I'm so grateful. They forced me to get clean. In Florida, we have what's called the Marchman Act, right? They mandate you to a treatment center. And that's what they did. I went to a treatment center, and I'm not endorsing it, but this is my story. And it was necessary for me to be separated from the drugs long enough for hospitals and institutions to come in to give me a vision of hope. Right? To tell me that I never have to use again. And here, let's paint this picture real quick, okay? I'm in Ocala, Florida. Nobody ever even heard that except for you if you've been there. I'm in Ocala, Florida, a little town, right? You know where I'm from Long Island, right? And automatically, my disease is disqualifying you guys. You're up there telling me I have to use, I'll never have to use again, no matter how you feel. There's this big black guy from Ocala. I'm like, my disease is doing, like, spinning in my head, telling me, like, yeah, okay, this guy, you can't relate to me. You haven't been where I've been. You haven't done what I've done. Well, I used to rob pharmacies and kick down doors. You guys are out here towel kipping and doing mushrooms. You can't relate, man. And you know what, man? I'm so grateful that hospitals and institutions would come in there like 3 times a week. 3 times a week. You guys came in and you were a vision of hope. You were a vision of hope. If you're a part of hospitals and institutions, I'm extremely grateful. I still am part of hospitals and institutions. I love doing that. I go to a men's facility a couple times a month because it's important, man, because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. Right? Like I said in the beginning, I will never, ever, ever, ever forget. Listen, I thought I was going to die under a bridge with a needle in my arm. And I was okay with that. Anybody read the Step Working Guide? It talks about it, resignation. Like, I resigned to the fact that I was going to die somewhere. I was okay with that. Man, I spent many a nights walking down Fifth Avenue in Brentwood. Right? I spent many a mornings waking up in that train station. I spent many a days driving the LIRR to Bushwick, coming back. Right? I had no hope. I had no hope. I had to come to a point of hopelessness to find hope in the beginning. Right? So now we're going to start talking about, like, the vision, right? The vision that H&I gave me. There's a line in the basic text. I love it. Get a drink. Because this is what happened, right? The drugs went. So when the drugs go and the addict works a program, what happens? Wonderful things happen. What's the next line? Anybody? Lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise. New possibilities arise. Lost dreams awaken. That's what a vision is, man. A vision is the ability to see beyond where you currently are, regardless that everything is saying that you're not going to get there. Vision is the ability to see past where you are. Man, it's not sight, right? Seeing is an action of the eyes. Vision is a feeling of the heart, right? When you see something, you see it with your eyes open, right? That's sight. Vision is seeing something with your eyes closed. And it's okay when people don't believe in you. Right? It's okay, like you just talked about, man. Confucius said, the man that says he can and the man that says he cannot are both correct. Yeah. are both correct, man. So I have to believe in myself. I have to have that self-talk. I have to be like, yes, I can do this. I can do this. I have to have men in my life that encourage me. That encourage me. I don't need men to put me down. I need men in my life to lift me up. Right? What entertains you will train you. And guess what? Who you tune into, you turn into. So if I don't have men in my life pushing me forward, then I'm not going to go nowhere. Listen, I don't believe in self-made men, self-made women. I don't believe in that. Like, every leader has a team behind them. Every colonel had an army behind them. Right? Every powerful or successful man, woman has somebody rooting them back. Man, that's why I need you guys. I'm not confused about any of that. Now, the problem comes in is when I don't start believing myself. And like you said, when I don't start setting goals, right? So check this out, because a vision is also being able to see where you want to go, having positive expectations, right? Because that's what happens when I need to succeed in life. I need to have some positive expectations, a spirit of expectation. A spirit of expectation is the breeding ground for miracles up in here, man. A spirit of expectation is where God gets in the sand and builds the castles, man. Right? Like, this doesn't happen without that. Right? I have to strategically, Joe, strategically set goals in my life. Right? Like, strategically do this. Right? Like, I don't get to A to D without going through B and C. You can't do that. I can't do that. If I do, I'll manipulate some stuff, man. I'll manipulate things. And I can't get stuck in the past. I want you to ask yourself. I want you to ask yourself, are you still stumbling over things that were behind you? Are you still doing it? Are you still stumbling over things that are behind you and not paying attention to the possibility in front of you? Ask yourself that. That's a simple question to ask. Because believe it or not, the hardest workout you could ever do is carrying yesterday on today's shoulders. And I know that. I know I have enough evidence in my life to prove that. I know men in my life that to tell me that on a regular basis. And I have a loving God that proves it every day. Every day. You ready, Jimmy? Because if God will guide me, he will certainly provide for me. Because that's what happens in here. I have enough evidence, I have enough love in my life to not be ashamed of that. Right? To not be ashamed of my success. Like inward and outward. Right? Like everybody wants to go outward, but not a lot want to go inward. And that's okay. Like everybody has their own path in here. And that I've come to accept that's okay too. Like you ain't got to work a step if you don't want to. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Right? Listen, I'm not a convention speaker. I'm up here carrying the message, right? I'm just another member of Narcotics Anonymous that has given the opportunity and is gifted enough to say what I'm going to say and have him work through me the way he's going to work through me. Right? I'm not no better, no less. Anonymity tells me that. And we're going to bust out a little something out of the Living Clean because I love to at least throw a little literature involved in this thing. Right? These are the tools you guys gave me, the weapons. There's a great line in the Vision of Hope. It says, the more we learn about ourselves, the more we are able to work toward our own personal vision of hope. It doesn't say your vision of hope, Joe. It doesn't say your vision of hope, Raymond. It says my own personal vision of hope. That's important, man. At the same time, we remember that our vision for ourselves is a fleeting glimpse of our higher power's will for us. I only get little flashes real quick, right? Like I'm still currently working on developing and cultivating a more loving relationship with my God, but I only see little glimpses once in a while. I don't always have the plan at hand, and as we pursue our dreams, we may find ourselves in places we never imagined. Right? Listen, 5 years ago, if you told me that I was going to be at a Narcotics Anonymous convention in Long Island, New York, sharing, I would have told you you're smoking crack, get out of my way. And give over the crack too. Give it up. I never thought I would be here carrying a message. Get out of here. That's insane. I would have thought you were insane. Woo! I thought you were crazy. But it's possible. It's possible. Lost dreams are awakened, new possibilities arise, man. Because the next line is all possible. Woo! It's all possible. That means we have to take risks. It means we have to take risks and sometimes experience failure. Right? Everybody wants to get the honey, but few want to get stung by the bee. Right? And I'm willing. I've been more than willing. Right? And even when we fall flat on our face, we get up again and move forward. Even when we fall flat on our face, we get up again and we move forward. So that reminds me, growing up here in Long Island, right? I started framing houses as a young kid, man, 17 years old. I built a lot of those houses right on 110 over here. I built probably over 100 houses in Long Island. And I was 17. Oh, let's drop that. And I remember my first boss. First boss is French-Canadian named Ralph. And he used to wear those like flip-flops, but they had straps on them. He'd frame houses in construction with those open toes and everything. But he'd run 15-man crews like it was nothing. Right? And I remember I started getting good at what I was doing. I started from carrying wood up the ladder, plywood up to the roof. I got a hold of a nail gun, started doing good. Right? And I would ask Ralph, I'd be like, hey, Ralph, yo, how were you able to be so successful in this construction business? And he said, oh, that's easy, Josh. You got to make good plans. I was like, okay, Ralph, all right, teach me, man. How, Ralph, how do I make good plans and become successful? And he said, Josh, you just got to get some experience under your belt. Like, man, that's easy. I've been here a year. Right? How do I get more experience? He said, you got to make bad plans, Josh. You got to make bad plans. You got to make bad plans, bad decisions to get the experience that give you the ability to make good plans and good decisions. Yeah, it makes sense now, right? So listen, if you get the bad decisions out of the way, man, if you stole from Home Depot, it's okay. If you didn't get caught, work on your nightstand. It's okay. You got another chance, Joe. Hold on. I haven't stolen from Home Depot in a while. All right? Listen, no, I'm serious. Listen, if you relapse and you're sitting here right now, it's okay. All right?
Absolutely.
Listen, if you cheated on your taxes and you're trying to make amends, it's okay. You got another chance. Right? Let your failures dictate your successes. Right? Let your failures be the next brick in the wall that you climb to the hill you want to be on, man. That's what you got. That's what I got to do. I can't let my failures define me. I can't let my failures imprison me. I got to let my failures encourage me. Drive me to my next success. Drive me to focus on that vision that sometimes people aren't going to see the same thing you see. And that's okay too. Right? That's God weeding people out of your life, man. Listen, that's God. You know how you ever seen a rocket go off in space? Right? You ever seen a rocket go off? It got those boosters on it, right? And the booster creates all this smoke, and it gives the rocket the momentum to get up out of the atmosphere. And what do the boosters do? They disengage and blow up, man. It's not the booster's fault, right? The booster couldn't handle the altitude that the rocket's going. So if people get out of my life, it's not their fault. I don't resent them. They can't handle where God's got me going. And that's okay, man. I am humble. I try to be humble enough to accept that. Right? I try, man. But I got to try harder, and I got to do better. Every day of my life, man. Every day of my life, man. And I don't know how much time I have, but I'm going to come in for the landing now. Landing gear's out. Give me a second. So yeah, check this out. Check this out. So in the 1900s in Indiana, they there was a kid named Harlan who grew up, and he was the oldest of the family. In Indiana, a kid named Harlan, he grew up, and he would help his mom and his dad out with the younger brothers and sisters, and always cook the food, right, and tend to the farm. But Harlan had a vision. Harlan had a vision that he wanted to get out of Indiana, right? He wanted to be recognized. He wanted to be someone important. So at 16 years old, he forged some documents and enlisted in the U.S. Army. Right? He wanted to be a cook and travel around the world with the U.S. Army. And he did that for a year till the Army found out. And then they sent him back to Indiana, the discharge. So now 18-year-old Harlan's back in Indiana, back at his family, and he feels disappointed. But he still has that vision. And he's not going to let anything limit him. So for years, he helps his family. For years, he does odds and end jobs, working out a chef here, peeling potatoes there, just trying to get ahead, right? And finally, at like 40 years old, he gets his own restaurant, man. And he's doing good, right? He's doing good for a little while. Harlan, Indiana, doing good, right? Unfortunately, something happened, and after 10 years, when he was 63, he had to sell the business. Right, he had to cause bankruptcy and auction off his business, right? But he still had that vision to be someone important, man, to be someone that somebody knew, right? And all those years of cooking, he had a recipe, right? And what he did, he envisioned at 63 years old, with $110 in the bank account, right? He went all over the country. He went from state to state, from city to city, from town to town, trying to sell his recipe, right? It wasn't easy. 1,009 times he got rejected. 1,009 times he got told no. 1,009 times people didn't believe in his vision. But he didn't let that deter him. On the 1,010th time, somebody believed in his vision and bought that recipe. And when they sat down at that table to sign the contract, he signed his name. And his name was Harlan Sanders. We know him as Colonel Sanders today. The founder and the inventor of one of the best recipes in all the world. All the world, man. One of the most recognized faces all over the world. From not having limitations on his vision. So I say this because it's important in my eyes. If you have something, a goal in your head, and you feel that you are 90% there, guess what? You're only 50% done. Oh, you didn't like that, did you, Joe? Yeah. When you think you're 90% there, you're only 50% done. But I can guarantee you that if you persevere and push through that last 10%, your vision will be finger-licking good too. So I'm a recovering nerd named Josh. That's what we swear.
I'd like to thank our speakers for